I'll forever be the man repping Injury Reserve as the best, I'm gonna say it, yes, the best hip hop group of the 2010s. And they are, of course, carrying on beyond that. They had an album in 2021, but sadly we do not have Groggs with us anymore, as he did pass away a couple of years back, which was a huge loss for so many people who loved these guys, so many people that went to see him live, who met him in person. He just seemed like such a genuinely nice guy. Yeah, an awful loss, and such a sudden death as well that came absolutely out of nowhere. It's awful, but we know that Injury Reserve are looking to continue as Injury Reserve with their most recent album, as Groggs did not appear much on it. He did have, you know, dribs and drabs here and there of verses, but we know that what they gave us in the 2010s as the trio that they were, Richie, Parker, Groggs, it was fantastic and unmatched for me in the 2010s. I know there's brilliant acts in the, you know, hip hop world as duos, as groups, as collectives that have obviously left their mark on music and will still continue as bands or big collectives, big artists, big groups in the hip hop world. You've got your Clipping, you've got Run the Jewels, you've got Brockhampton, you've got plenty more as well. You could even maybe add Death Grips to the list, even though they're not necessarily really hip hop by traditional standards, but there are elements in their music as well. I personally would kind of put them outside of hip hop in that sense, which is why for me, Injury Reserve are the top of the list. The lack of mainstream success that these guys have seen is insane to me. I've never fully understood it. Every time I present a song from Injury Reserve to a friend, to someone that I know, to someone I've just met perhaps, they go down so well every goddamn time, because these guys have the bangers, they have the hits, and I don't know why hip hop as a genre doesn't respect them more. I don't know why none of these songs have ever gone viral through anything at all. Like I just don't get it. I really don't. They have all the components in their music to be that kind of artist. It's never happened. It's never worked out for them. Don't understand why, but I will rep them forever, and I will always view them as being one of the best hip hop acts of our time. And yeah, this is why I had to do this video, because there's so many fantastic songs in their discography. I could have left it to, like, you know, a 20, a 30, honestly. Like, they just have so many good songs. So a top 10 has been hard, I will say that. But I'm here with my top 10, with a few honourable mentions to start with, as always. Before you go any further though, please check out my Patreon. Please consider donating on there. You can get your own requests for these videos and many other more videos as well. If you click the link, that would be wonderful. And also, if you are clicking this video not really that aware of Injury Reserve, please check them out before this video and then come back. Honestly, I don't mind you going away and not watching this video yet. You've got to check out their discography. You've got to start from the start. You've got to end where we are today in 2022. Seriously, really worth your time. And the transition that they've gone through into 2021's album really makes things look quite interesting for the future. So yeah, I think you're going to have to check out all of their albums and their mixtapes, because there ain't no duds. Want to mention Snowmen first, from the Live at the Dentist Office, as a really strong honourable mention, a bit of an unsung hero in their discography, to be fair, as is New Hawaii, which features Dram on vocals. And my god, this song is a huge vibe. Like, seriously, such an atmospheric tone to this one that they've never really replicated before or done anything like, and it is absolutely sensational. Dram as well has kind of fallen off a little bit over the years, but this guy, I will be singing his praises, because his vocals on this track are fantastic. I want to mention Jailbreak the Tesla, so close to being in the top 10, so close. Such a creative song, from the concept to the way it's structured and to how weirdly experimental it is, to the Amine verse. Unbelievable guest verses, my friends. One of the best guest verses of that year it came out. Seriously good. Amine kills this verse. Holy shit. And yet it doesn't quite make the top 10. And a couple more, because I always mention 5 honourable mentions for these videos. We've got top picks for you from the Phoenix album. Again, conceptually a brilliant song, and just such an emotional and powerful track that uses an incredibly simple concept as the the Netflix top picks for you into such a heartbreaking song. Seriously, go check that one out if you've never heard it. It's a brilliant sort of like bait and switch with the concept that they used in that track. And then North Pole, probably their most emotional song ever. So close to making the top 10. But the reason that this one didn't was because I think I'm always going to remember these guys if they continue, if they stop at this point. I'm not entirely sure. I think they will continue. I'm not sure though, but we're not really at a point where we know where they're going to go from here. But their discography for me will always be remembered by how fun and upbeat the bangers are. And I think this top 10 has to represent that, because that is what they're so good at. But North Pole and the rest of these other tracks are fantastic in their own right.
They copy, they jogging, but Groxy, he just drinking Carlos Rossi in the pretty...
Not sure this would be in many other people's top 10s if they have their own list for this group, because this EP was received well, but I don't see many people really reference it as much when they're talking about this group anymore. But See You Sweat, man, is an absolute rager. Seriously, the hook is so catchy. Richie with a T, I'll probably say this and repeat myself about 10 times in this video, but Richie with a T has some unbelievable pockets that he runs through to make these hooks. Like, I do not know how he finds them, but he can find a hook in anything. And the fact that this beat has a weird sort of water dripping siren thing going on, it's so much randomness. And yet the way it's turned into a banger is unreal. Like, it is unparalleled. And the catchiness of it is just so good. It will stick in your head for ages. You'll groove, you'll dance to it. This is one of their danciest songs, I think, Yeah, like I say, this list is going to be flooded with the bangers, and See You Sweat had to be in the list for me. At number 9 though, probably one of their most experimental songs to date, and it was from their most experimental album to date as well. Creatively, this album is off the chain. It sounds nothing like they've ever done before, and it is really, really good for that as well. And I think Superman That is the best track off the album and one of their best songs ever. The samples that they pull from are actually ridiculous. Parker as a producer, like, seriously, unbelievably overlooked in terms of conversations, because this guy is an absolute nerd with the way he finds these beats. And the group in general, I feel, are all just as nerdy as one another. But Jesus Christ, sampling Black Country New Road in a hip hop song, I mean, what the hell, man? You just don't really see that kind of thing ever happen. Yeah, unbelievable. And the beat is just absolutely dizzying and mesmerizing in all the weirdest ways. It's a mind boggle. The first time I heard this, I did not know what the hell was going on. For the however many times I've heard it since, I still don't feel like I know what's going on at all. Even the sort of weird, twisted, emotional delivery from Richie on this track as well is really, really unique. An absolute spellbinding track that cannot be explained, but is up there with their best. This is kind of like the North Pole of the list in the fact that it is probably one of their most emotionally powerful tracks. Not as hard-hitting as North Pole, but Look Mama I Did It had to be included for me just for how celebratory it is. It's really powerful in the way it's presented with the lyrics, but also the fact that it kind of is just a sort of like thank you to the parents, a sort of thank you to the mums out there, and also just showing that they actually found a way to make it, and they've done something that they never thought they would be able to achieve. They've come from the bottom, made their way to the top. And what I love about this track as well, that doesn't really get mentioned much, is that, I've said it already at the start of the video, they're not that famous, they're not that big, they're not that mainstream at all, even though they are fantastic, but they're not that well known. And yet, even that snippet of success that they have found and they have seen is enough for them to just show that gratitude, to show that appreciation. And it's not like they're selling out stadiums, and it's not like they're as big as Drake. They're not as big as friggin' Kendrick or J. Cole. They're not on that level of huge success, but yet they still found a way to create a song that just appreciates what they've got and what they've been able to achieve up until this point. It's a beautiful track, and for all the reasons I just said, makes it worthy of being on this list. It's fantastic.
Wax off, stack up all your weight, yeah. Hands up, man up, stand up for your.
At number 7 now, I think I've been getting so carried away and excited that I haven't even been numbering these songs as I go along. They will be on screen, the numbers will be there, but I've just been missing out saying them. But Wax On, my friends, another ridiculously catchy hook that Richie pulls out of his arse. I just don't know where else he's pulling these from, because he just makes them sound so easy, but yet no one else really can do them as good as he can, so it's crazy. But honestly, what saves this song, or what makes this song actually, because it's brilliant, the beat is great, the production's great, the flows, the verses are good as well. But Freddie on the feature, man, an absolute feature killer this guy is. Absolutely unbelievably good at features. Every time he's on a feature, he kills it, he does not miss. Jesus Christ, I think he absolutely is essential for making this song on the list. It's great as it is, but I'm just blown away by how good he incorporates himself into it. He sounds so cold and cool. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And on the level of the Amine feature I was talking about earlier too.
I like the way you move.
The excellently incorporated sample with this one from the Dramatic song, which is a fantastic song originally, but using that little part at the beginning of the track to create your own loop, and just an absolutely really over the top, kind of like old Kanye style sort of really over the top joyous instrumental here. It's so catchy as well, like it's stuck in my head all the damn time. Yo, it's so good, man. Oh my god, this is one of the best songs they've ever done, and it was the intro track to their first mixtape. They immediately set themselves apart from everyone else just by how hooky and catchy they are, while bringing in some great verses as well. Jesus Christ, bro, both Groggs and Richie on this track kill it. They really, really do, man. And the little section at the end with the, I like the way you move, I like the way you rap. It's so good. It's so good. These guys, oh man, they'll live forever in my head. Right, number 5 now, S on Your Chest. Jesus Christ, this run from 6 to 1 is just essential bangers from these guys. Guys, essential bangers on the way. Essential bangers on the way. S on Your Chest. The Diggs Duke sample, which by the way, again, similarly to the Dramatics, if you've never heard the originals, go check those out and then listen to how the samples are used, because this Diggs Duke sample is brilliant. Like, it's a really, really good song. It's a kind of jazzy sort of feel to the track as well. Diggs is a really cool vocalist that brings some nice warm vocals to the table, and they've used this one little snippet of the track again to create its own looping hook. And again, I don't know how anyone could hear this kind of track and not have it stuck in their head for ages. It is so hooky and earwormy. And we're at a point where we need to start talking about Richie and how funny this guy is, because not only does he find hooks from absolutely anything and everything, but the guy on this track comes out with some of the funniest lines, man. Jesus Christ, the hook itself with the whole, I can't say it, but the point of the song is he changes the N word to something else, and then he says, like, the white people can say this part, but they couldn't say the part before. I can't say the whole thing, as for obvious reasons, but check it out, and if you've never heard it before, you will probably find it really funny, because it never gets old. Even as many times as I've heard it up until this point, I still find that hook really funny. I think comparing himself to early Ye is quite funny as well. The Kanye influence is so clear throughout their discography, to be fair. But the big poo diss on this track, the big poo diss. We do not diss little brother. We do not diss him. No, but it's a funny line still. He's still funny.
What's up? Oh shit! They said
Talking about Ragers at number 4. Oh shit, probably their most hyped up, ridiculously off the chain track. The beat is so hard and grueling. The vocals are so in your face and yelpy and anthemic. It is just an absolute throw shit, break stuff anthem for the hip hop ages, for the ages in the hip hop world. It is so good. And again, the hook is so memorable. I feel like the verses are fantastic too. I feel like I'm repeating myself throughout this video, but seriously, they're just so good at what they do when they get in their bag. When they're in their bag making these huge, over-the-top, outrageous bangers, they just are exactly what they say on the tin. You cannot fault a track like this. Like, Jesus Christ. Oh shit, oh shit, oh man, so good. Right, okay, number 3. Luckily, we're not going to continue to repeat ourselves because this is a different track for Intrusive. I think similarly to Look Mama, I did it a little bit in the terms of how it sounds celebratory and it sounds really wholesome and grateful. And this one kind of feels like it hits a bit harder now, knowing that Groggs isn't with us, because of course the 3-man weave, being the 3 of them, just made it sound so, again, like, look at where we're at now. We're together, we've done this, we've made it together, all of us as a 3, we're going to do the 3-man weave. And it just feels like a really beautifully put together track that they didn't necessarily have to do. But the way that they kind of talk about their come up and how they used to just, be playing basketball and just fooling around to where they are now, it's a really wholesome track. And I think this track, in terms of production, sounds really good as well. Like, again, the instrumental is fantastic. The verses are really well put together. Like, this probably wouldn't be half as good without Parker on production, because he just makes these beats and he comes together with these instrumentals sounding so really, really good. And a track like this, lyrically, without that, might have just been like, yeah, it's fine, but it's nothing special. But because of that, it really lifts the song into this huge sort of, let's get together, let's have a good time, we're here to show our gratitude.
Hey, he say, she say, everybody knows, been there, done that.
Blah, 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 everybody knows. Number 2, we got Everybody Knows from Live at the Dentist Office. This actually was originally going to be lower, but I kept playing it and I just could not get enough of it, man. And it's always been one of my favorite tracks from them. This track to me feels like so indebted to its influences, because if you watch the video, it feels very sort of like late 80s, early 90s hip hop collectives coming together, having a fun time. I'm getting a lot of like De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest vibes from the way this track's kind of put together and the way the video was put together as well. Just a lot of fun and a lot of carefree attitude coming from this. And you'd be surprised at how little 2010s hip hop even sounds like this. Like, so much of it is leaned into the trap stuff now, which I'm not against. I really like trap. And so much of the underground stuff is very serious, very dense, very heady, very abstract, thinking of kind of like Billy Woods type artists who really, you have to sit down and think about everything they're saying. Even Kendrick Lamar of the 2010s was so essential to the genre, but of course a lot of his music is similar as well, in that you have to really sit down and think about it. But they burst onto the scene with this mixtape, Live at the Dentist Office, with singles like this, and it feels refreshing because they're just here to have a great time. Their beats are banging, their hooks are super catchy. Like, tracks like this encapsulate everything that makes them so, so good. And they're a breath of fresh air because you can't point to many acts that even sound remotely similar to this. And even the ones that sound similar don't have hooks as good as this.
Oh my God, hey, I ain't done shit all my life. Hey.
Maybe an obvious pick for number 1, but if you did keep up with my 2010s best of lists, you'd know that this mixtape was really high on that list, and this song was actually really high on the list as well. But I did mean what I said at the start of this video, when I'm just going to be highlighting the best of the bangers from these guys, because that is what stands out to me the most in their discography. Not to say that there aren't other brilliant tracks, because there are. I mean, I didn't even include TTKTV, that track, a really fantastic track, but which is a bit more experimental leaning from the earlier stuff. But I had to have this as my number one. All This Money, man. This is the most Lil Jon sounding we've ever heard, Richie. And going back to what I said before, why hasn't this become such a hit? Because it just has that sort of mid-2000s, early 2000s sort of like big, huge hip-hop bangers feel to it that is just so ridiculously catchy. And you've got to give it to Groggs on this track, by the way, because he really carries the verses so well. Some of his lines are really funny as well. I feel like, again, they get underrated for how funny they are across their entire discography. But Groggs just kind of poking fun at himself and not really taking it all too seriously. And man, honestly, in a way, this is kind of its own little thrift shop. Like, the kind of lyrics that they're playing with, not having a great deal of money, kind of just pretending that you've got all this cash, throwing it around, but essentially you're just going to go out and buy some really cheap stuff. It's a really fun concept, it's a really funny idea for a track, and goddamn does it fucking hit hard, because Jesus Christ it does. This for me is their best song ever. And honestly, you could reorder this top 10 and it would make sense, because I do not care. All of these 10 tracks are absolutely amazing. But that is my list. Number one, All This Money is my favorite track from them. Hopefully you agree. Hopefully you check out these tracks based on this video. If you've never heard any of their songs in the past before, would love to see your thoughts on this list, and then, you know, check them out and then come back to this list, because you are missing out if you've never heard them. Thank you as always for watching. Do have a good day. Subscribe if you haven't already. Would love to see more people in the comments checking out my Patreon as well, supporting me on there. That would be amazing. Please like the video, share it around, and let's try and get Injury Reserve to see this. Maybe if we share it around enough, they'll see it pop up on their newsfeed or anything like that. It'd be great to see them see this. I'd love to see what they think. I don't know if they really keep up to date with stuff like this. I don't know. But it would be great to see if they do check it out. So yeah, let's see if we can try and aim to do that. Otherwise, have a good day. Subscribe if you haven't already, and goodbye.